Yo, what's up everybody? It's time for another episode of Carmentary. I believe it is volume 5, English edition. And today's topic is AirBnB and house sharing. Is it a viable business opportunity here in Japan after the new law goes into effect on June the 15th, 2018? That's what I'm going to talk about today. I'll give you the answer, the short version, right here, right now. Basically, in my opinion, it is not a viable business anymore in Japan. So, that's the quick version. You can now flick to another YouTube video if that's all you want to hear. But if you want to hear kind of how I got to that and my opinion behind that, stick around for a little longer. This is a huge subject. I feel like I've been kind of avoiding it because I felt like it's going to take me 40 minutes to talk about it. And I want to try to compact it down into 10 minutes while I drive to the airport here. So I'm going to try. Okay, first of all, let's dive into it. Here in Japan, and I suppose globally, there are 3 types of people or groups that you can divide up the home sharing economy into. And I'm talking about the host side. I'm not talking about the user or the people who want to use Airbnb. Let's just forget about that. I'm talking about being a host and sharing your home or sharing an apartment with other strangers you don't know to make some money, etc. Okay, so the hosts, I think you have the first type, which are actually people who have a spare room in their house. Maybe the kids have grown up, gone off to college, whatever. Maybe they converted a garage into a room or something, whatever. And they're like, hey, this is great. We can make a little extra money. We'll meet people from around the world. It'll be a lot of fun. Bring it on. This is what we want to do. And they get into Airbnb as hosts. That's one group. The second group are people like me, who are, freelance, middle class, whatever. They either have a spare room or somehow they were lucky enough to get an extra house or a small studio, or they have a vacation house, or they bought an apartment near their house really cheap. That's me. And they're like, oh, hey, this Airbnb thing came up. This is a great idea. We can have people come and stay. We can teach them about our community. We can make some extra money out of this. This is going to be awesome. That's the second group. I think that's a large group. And then you have the third and final group, which are companies, like small companies, medium-sized companies, around the world, who basically have the power to go in and buy properties, own these properties. Maybe they're trying to flip them, wait till the price goes up to sell them, and in the meantime, they put them on Airbnb or one of these systems, and people come in and can stay there. They're making money off the property while they wait to sell it. I think that's kind of a large group. Then there's within that, you have people who aren't trying to flip properties. Maybe they just see this, oh, hey, here's a great new business. We kind of wanted to get into the accommodation business, but we don't really have the whole hotel license. Let's just buy a bunch of apartments in great neighborhoods. We'll put them on Airbnb. We'll start making money, and boom, you've got a great small business running. Okay, that's it. 3 major groups. With the new law going into effect, there's a bunch of little rules and things built in there that are limiting and affecting each of these groups differently. The first group, the elderly couple who has the spare room in their house, they are the best off. They're going to be cool with this as long as they can figure out all the ridiculous paperwork that you have to go through and the hoops you have to jump through for the government to get your registration number. If they can do that, they're set, because the law is built for those people. It's saying, hey, you can have someone in your house up to half a year. By the way, that's the cap. You can't have anyone come and stay in your house or your apartment or whatever you're renting for more than 6 months, more than half of 365 days, whatever that is. But that's a lot anyway. Like 6 months of the year, having someone in your house is like, that's a lot. You can still make, some change. You're making some money. There's a lot of people coming through your door. I think that's fine. So those people are cool, and they're not really doing it as a huge business. Maybe they want a little extra money. to spend to go see movies or to travel. Maybe, and I think it is a lot of people who like to travel, like international cultures, and want to meet these people. Then that money they make off of that, they take that and they go on a trip or two a year to Europe or Africa or whatever. So those people, I think, again, like I said, if they can get through the paperwork, you're set. Second group, me. Okay, we have two apartments. Just so you know, we have two apartments I've been listing on Airbnb for the past 2.5 to 3 years. We started with one, then we bought the one next to the apartment we already owned. There was a real wacko living in there, and he moved out, and thankfully sold the apartment. And we were like, oh, we gotta buy this, because if some other wacko moves in, it's gonna be a real pain in the ass. So we bought the apartment, and now we have two apartments which we list on Airbnb. It's been good. It's been fun, and it's been not a huge money maker. Our occupancy rate is like 30% at the most, so we're not even close to the cap that the new law has set up. But the problem we have, and it's a big problem in this new law. Basically, the law says you, the owner, the person, you basically have to be living at the property you are renting. If it's a spare room in your house, that's easy. If it's an apartment, even though it's close to our house, we're like literally 1 minute walk from our units, we're not actually on the site. And in the new law, it says very specifically, when you have a client or someone staying there, you have to be on the site 24 hours a day, and you can leave for up to an hour. It actually says that in the law. Now, it's kind of ridiculous. I understand why that's in there. It's a safety thing. It's for example, if you go stay at a hotel, at night when you're sleeping, there's still staff who stay up all night working just in case anything goes wrong. Right? There's a fire, there's an electrical outage, there's whatever, something goes wrong, someone's there to take care of it while you can rest nicely in your bed. So I understand that concept. So they're saying you got to be there. You can leave for up to an hour to go shopping. Okay, great. Not really feasible though in our situation, right? Because we're not on the site. So in that case, then they say you have to turn the management over to a professional management company. Okay, this is possible, but it definitely makes things tricky. First of all, you're going to have a big cost getting a management company to come in and be there all the time. But they're not going to be there all the time. The only people who can sit in an apartment building all the time are the actual building management that has been hired to run the building. And in Japan, that's called the kandining. That's there's usually a guy. There's a small window when you walk in. There's a little office. There's a guy sitting there, and he kind of, if he's friendly, he waves. If he's not, he just kind of looks angry all the time. And he's the guy who goes around and cuts the grass around the building and makes sure that you put the garbage out on the right day or whatever. But getting that person to manage your unit, possible in some circumstances, very difficult in most circumstances, I think. So what happens is you got to look for the loophole, which is how a lot of things work here in Japan. There's a lot of regulations, a lot of new rules. Okay, how can we get around them? That sort of becomes the key word. So the loophole here is, you say, oh, well, we have, in our case, okay, we have two apartments. So when someone's staying in one, we'll be staying in the other, and we'll be there all the time. When in fact, you're not actually going to be there all the time. So that's kind of the way things work here. You find the little loophole, and you have to prove that you live there, or you're going to live there, with receipts, for example, from a store close by. Oh, we bought toilet paper and we bought garbage bags, so that proves that we actually kind of live there. Okay. So there's ways to get around it, but what I'm saying is, if you want to make it a viable business, you're going to have way more than one or two apartments. You're going to have bunch of units to make it a really viable, something that'll support your life. And if you do that, there's no way you can say, I live in all these apartments and I'm there all the time. That's impossible. So you end up having to get the management company or go and study and do what it takes to get the management license yourself. Tough. So I think for that middle group, people like me, it's very hard to start or to continue running a home sharing system as a business. Okay, third group, the small to middle-sized company, real estate companies, whatever, who are doing this. I think, in a way, this kind of plays into their hands because they have the advantage. I think a lot of these companies maybe have the monetary means and the time and the staff. Maybe they already have the management license. If it's a real estate company, they're right there. That's what you need. You need to be a real estate company who has the property management license, and you have the staff, and you can, jump through the hoops and use the loopholes to say, oh yeah, we're managing this, we have people on site, it's all okay, blah blah blah. And these people can go out and find the houses and the apartment buildings that will allow home sharing and really run it as a business. So in a way, that's kind of my biggest issue with this new law and the whole home sharing thing. It works in favor of the very small people who just want to share their house and the middle to large size sort of companies. And it kind of hurts the middleman, the middle class people like me who thought, oh, this is a cool thing, maybe we can make some money off of this. This is good vacation money for us. That was our dream. It's like, okay, we got these apartments, we'll rent them out, people will come, we'll put that money aside, and we use that money to go on vacations, because who's really running this? It's me and my wife. We're putting in the hours. We're doing all the emails. We're cleaning the apartments. We're going through, all the process to get this done. So let's take that money and go do something fun with it. So that's my biggest problem with the new rules that are coming into effect. I think it's kind of hurting a large section of people. It would be good if there were some more workarounds. Now, the last thing, the paperwork involved to get the registration number. We're going through the process right now. We're doing it all. We're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. We're being very meticulous. I have a Japanese wife. I think everyone who has a Japanese wife understands they're very meticulous. They are raised that way. They really work hard to get it done in the proper way. We're not using a lawyer to go through all this. We're doing it ourselves. Maybe that was a big mistake. I don't know. Let's put it this way. There's a ton of paperwork. Whether you fill out the forms on the internet or you do it by hand and send them in, or you actually walk into the government office, I'm going to add a couple photos I took this morning of my wife with paperwork spread out all over the desk. And obviously it's all in Japanese, so I can't do anything. So I think if you're a mixed couple and you have a Japanese wife or a Japanese husband or someone who is Japanese who can help you do all that paperwork, maybe you'll be able to get it done. Not easy though. Straight up, not easy. You're gonna hit your head against the wall like, Japanese bureaucracy, and you're gonna feel it. Or you just go pay a lawyer, and then they'll call you up and be like, provide me with this and give me your hunko, and okay, it's all done. Now send me $2,000 or need you money. I'm just making that figure up. I don't know how much it would cost to have a lawyer do that because we didn't use one. But I would expect it would cost something like that. So we come back to the very beginning statement I made where I said I don't think Airbnb is a viable business anymore. A business means you actually have to make some money off of it, and it has to become profitable. That's what business equals to me. I like the concept of sharing properties and sharing and maybe owning, a few. I'm not the kind of person who wants to have strangers come into my house and stay in a room. I'm not there yet. I like it when people are at a little bit of a distance. At least they can be on the same property, but in a separate building. And we can meet and shake hands and be like, nice to meet you, where you're from. Oh, cool, that's interesting. And have a little chat. But I don't want strangers like having breakfast with me. I'm super busy. I have to have breakfast with my family, and that's it. So I want to try and run it as, ooh, it's dark in this tunnel. Let's pause for a commercial break. Okay, we're back. All right, this is definitely getting long, and it's definitely one of the more serious Carmentary episodes so far. But I think it's an important subject to talk about, and I'd like to hear your opinion. I'm sure there's some people who watch my YouTube channel who also have AirBnB or whatever system you use. I'm sure there's some people out there who are sharing their homes. I'd like to hear how you guys are going and what the situation is for you and what you think about it. But that's my opinion. So I think if you just want to kind of have a little side hobby, sort of, your hobby is meeting people from around the world, go for it. I think Airbnb and the sharing economy is still going to be a good thing. I think for the middle-sized guy trying to run it as a business, it ain't going to be easy from here on out. So, send me some comments, share this as you see fit, and I think I'll do like part 2 of this actually, because we're going through all this stuff right now, but we're not finished. We don't actually have our registration number. We don't even know if we're going to get it for the 2 apartments, and we don't know if we're going to be able to continue Airbnb. At this point, I don't really care. I mean, if we don't get the number and we have to like close it down and say that's the end, that's fine. I'm totally cool with that too. It's no big deal. We'll find something else to do, and maybe we'll just sell those apartments. No biggie. Oh yeah, and just one last thing. I'm not complaining completely about this new law. I think it's actually, it's a good thing. You need, I understand the need for laws, okay? I'm not like anti-law, especially, when it comes to accommodation. There's a lot of people out there doing a lot of stupid stuff. Even in our same building, there's like a unit that started up recently, and they put in, for example, you have a tiny little room. You put in like 4 beds, bunk beds or whatever, so you can sleep like a bunch of people. So maybe you can make more money, or whatever. The problem with that is you have things like fire laws, and I understand the need for fire laws. Totally. I think that's awesome. That's going to save lives when something happens. If you have a tiny little apartment and there's a fire, and suddenly those 4 people are trying to rush out of their bunk bed to escape, it ain't going to happen. Someone's going to die. So there's a need for that kind of stuff in those regulations. I totally understand that. I'm totally backing it. I think that's the right thing to do. So don't get me wrong. I just think it makes it really difficult to continue and for new people to start up when Japan is trying to transition into a true tourism economy. Because that's all there is going forward for Japan. I don't see anything else. Obviously technology, and there's a lot of stuff that Japan is still a master of. But going forward, Japan must make the total transition into a tourism economy, and you're going to need a lot more rooms to bring, to house all those people that the government is bringing in with their amazing global promotion. And we're seeing a lot of tourists, and a lot of them are using Airbnb as a way to stay in Japan, which I think is a good thing. And as an Airbnb host, I feel we are providing an amazing service of truly opening up Japan and sharing Japan. Like meeting people and telling them, okay, here's a great cafe, here's where you should go hike in the mountains. That's the kind of things that hotels and big resorts are not that good at. They just can provide their service that they have there, but we are the people who are really teaching and sharing about Japan and what Japan has to offer. So I think it's pretty important for Japan to keep the home sharing economy running strong. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to say any more until part 2. So I'll see you back here for another episode of Carmentary. Thanks for hanging out with me. me in my car while I drive to the airport. I'm almost there. Awesome.